You're listening to the Pep Talk podcast.
Hello everyone, it's me, Rory Paddock, for the Pep Talk podcast. It's episode 3, season 3, we are back. It's just myself and John Arnold. This episode we're going to have a look back at what was Constitution's meant to be, I guess, Constitution Hill's Day in the Sun. Didn't turn out like that. Lots of talk about what we do with the horse going forward. And we'll be looking ahead to 4 of the biggest races this weekend. So without further ado, let's bring John on board. How are you doing, mate? How's things?
All right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. We'll kick things off. Obviously, the big talking point last weekend was Constitution Hill. Failed to deliver. Look, we ran a poll. We ran a poll on our Twitter account. If you don't follow us at racingdaily_com. If you own Constitution Hill, what would your next steps be? 10.8% ended up voting continue hurdling. Just under 20%, 18.9% said go chasing, aim the horse at the bigger obstacles. And the overwhelming majority, 70% said retire the horse. I think it's a fair enough analogy. I think I would personally like to see the horse retired, but Henderson's sort of ruled that out. He said, "Oh, let's go for a maiden on the flat. It's a potential possibility." Is it all a bit of bluster from Henderson, or do you think he's genuinely going to plan some sort of different, perhaps obscure route?
I think it's all down to the owner, isn't it? I mean, Henderson can go in the press. I saw lots of things after what happened last week when Henderson says that the horse is too good to retire, but that'll come down to the owner. Surely Michael Buckley will want a good ending to the story. So I don't. If they were going to retire it, they would have come out straight away and said it very quickly after the race on Saturday. So I don't think it will be retired. Like you said, you would like to see it retired. I would like to see it retired, just purely from the point of view that I saw it win the Supreme, I saw it win the Champion Hurdle, and I've even got a picture up on the wall here because it is a brilliant horse. It is one of, in my opinion, it probably is one of the best 10 champion hurdlers ever because of how good it was. But there's something in there now that is in its mind that it won't go over them hurdles, and it's going to come a cropper again. I think I even saw a thing the other day where the bookies are offering for it to run in the Breeders' Cup at Royal Ascot. So there's all these stories going around what you can do with it. Yeah, of course you could go and put it in a maiden on the flat, and it'll probably win because it's that fast on a flat surface. But that's not what its career has been. So I think they'll try it over bigger fences. I actually think I've got a funny feeling they will take it over fences, because I think what will happen then is it will slow it down, so it'll address the fences properly, and then it can pick up the speed between the fences. So that's what I think will happen. I think it will go chasing.
Yeah,
but the thing is that it's not. No matter what happens, it's not the same horse because of the colic. Because people keep saying, "Oh yeah, it's got this problem with fences." But to me, when the horse had colic and it couldn't go to Cheltenham, that's when I think the horse changed anyway. Because most racehorses, once they get that, they don't come back the same. So I think that would have been the opportunity then for it to bow out, maybe best as unbeaten at that point. But they didn't do that. So I think what will happen, I think they'll put it over fences. I really do. Yeah. And they'll see then whether it will actually go. And if it goes over a fence, great, and it wins, they can be happy. But if it falls off a fence, then that's it. That's the end of the career. Then hopefully they'll let it retire.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. I'm sort of the same belief as you. Like, I remember a year or so ago them talking about it schooled over fences and it had done amazingly well, and it had beaten perhaps some of the sort of stable sort of chasing superstars going over the bigger obstacles. And there was quite a lot of talk. Now, obviously, we hear all sorts of talk from various yards, and you sort of do take it with a pinch of salt. But it was quite a few people were wondering why it carried on over the smaller obstacles, but then it had done absolutely nothing wrong, and you couldn't really begrudge it. I'm just really, really conscious from I guess, not selfishly here, but from a racing PR perspective, if they do send it over the bigger obstacles, if they do continue with it, just in any sort of capacity, really, more so if it has to jump something. If something were to go awry, obviously it'd be horrendous regardless, but there'd be so many people that would be like, how many times did that horse have to fail to deliver to kind of give you enough warning signs to say, hang on a minute, something serious could happen? Obviously, we don't ever want a horse to come a cropper in any regard, but a horse that's a champion like that, it would be a really sad ending to continue to push a horse if he's genuinely just gone at the game. He's fed up with it. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't owe anything to anyone, especially the owners. I mean, geez, if I was to have his owner, all right, it's not the fairy tale ending you perhaps want, but multiple festival winner, multiple Grade 1 winner, absolute demon, one of the best, champion hurdlers of all time. It doesn't owe the horse. The horse doesn't owe them anything. And again, I think, like you said, you send it over the flat, you send it on a maiden, or what's a maiden, at Nottingham or whatever, some sort of middle of the road course. No offense to Nottingham, going to prove to anyone compared to what it's done already. Like you said, it's not the discipline it's been a master at. Chasing, yeah, look, in an ideal world, the horse comes back to something like its best, whether it's over chasing, whether it's a hurdle, and it returns to form, and it ends on a high with a big Grade 1 win, and everyone goes home happy. But the reality is, he's shown enough in his last few runs to suggest that he doesn't want to do that anymore, and I'm just really worried if something he can continue to persist with something, that's when accidents happen. He's shown that he doesn't want to jump a hurdle anymore, or like his head's gone at the game. Like you said, colic was sort of like the beginning of the first signs of what was to come, and I just don't think a champion hurdler who's done as well as he has should be continually sort of cajoled into doing something when there's been signs that maybe he's not where he was. Look, like I said, the fairy tale ending would be the absolute icing on the cake for a horse that deserves an ending like that. I just don't want to see the complete opposite ending occur. I mean, like you said as well, we also put a poll up on Twitter about how highly we ranked Constitution Hill, about whether or not you would consider the horse to be in the top 10 sort of champion hurdle winners of all time. And it was pretty much a 50-50 vote. What do you think would go against the horse, or for those that didn't vote, the horse to be in their top 10? What do you think would probably be the negatives against those who went, no, he's just not for us?
Because it's fallen. That's why. That's the bottom line. Because I saw another thing the other day where someone said, oh, Monksfield, that's the best champion hurdler ever because it never fell. Yeah, okay. Isterbrack, some say that's the best champion hurdler ever. That did actually fall a few times in its career. And then I pointed out my favourite ever horse, Hurricane Fly, never fell. 22 Grade 1s, never fell ever in its career. And then people not say they pan it, but Hurricane Fly is not held in a really high regard, even though it won the champion hurdle twice and it went back and obviously regained it. So I think that's funny, isn't it, that Constitution Hill, for some people say no, because maybe it's because they're thinking more with their pockets and they're saying, well, it's lost me money. Because that's the way you could look at it. For example, the Fighting Fifth Hurdle was a very difficult race on paper. You had the New Lion, you had Anazam, you had Golden Ace, which nobody again gave a look in on paper. And I suppose there'll be a lot of people, and you could see it because I saw footage of it the other day. There was people watching at Newbury and heads in hands as Constitution Hill falls because they've all had money on it, because they all listen in and they think, oh, this is its comeback. It must be really good because of that gallop. And, the talk about gallops is such a forlorn thing, isn't it? These gallops, these public gallops, which they have, and we see them all the time, especially with flat horses as well. When you say, for example, pre the Derby, they have horses galloping around Epsom and everyone gets given all these good stories. But the fact of it is, that's a false narrative, because you just do not know how that horse is going to perform under pressure. Same as the New Lion. The New Lion was pushed and that went down. So there's no guarantees. But the thing that might happen, and this, I said earlier about it could end up running at Royal Ascot. Well, you've got a 2-mile race at Royal Ascot on the flat, ain't you? The Queen Alexandra. Bearing in mind, Ethical Diamond won that and then went and won at the Breeders' Cup. What more crazy idea could happen that Constitution Hill runs in the Queen Alexander and then they somehow do what Ethical Diamond has done? It's not impossible, is it? Because it doesn't have to jump a fence.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, if I had to send the horse, continue with the horse racing, I'd probably prefer to do that than I would to send it chasing.
Yes.
Just from a sort of a worry perspective. I think I saw a thing that was doing the rounds online, like you said, something I quoted 20 to 1 to run at a race at Royal Ascot. I mean, it might be worth a few quid, to be fair. I think if I was to run the horse, it's either going to be let's have a little go on the flat and see what it might be able to do, or just send it to retirement. I think that's probably where I'd go. I mean, like you said, Golden Ace, fantastic win. Don't think that horse is yet to get the credit it probably deserves. Eventually, maybe it has to win another 2 or 3 grade ones before people do. But that was obviously last weekend. We've got this weekend's racing to look forward to. So I'll be right back with Saturday racing and an extra race from Sunday. Okay, so this Saturday, we've got 4 races to look at. We've got 3 from Saturday. We've got 1 from Sunday. First up, John, let's have a look. We have got the... Oh, no, let's not do the Peterborough Chase. We'll save that till Sunday. We're going to go to the Betfair Handicap Hurdle, the 225 at Sandown this Saturday. Odds are on the screen for those that are watching. Obviously, Knickerbocker Glory. The current 11 to 4 short price favourite. Climbray at 4 to 1. Dancing Clans at 9 to 2. Go Dante at 9s. Alfredel 11s. Katera 12 to 1. Metier 16s. Goshen 20 to 1. And it's 25 to 1 bar that. So, big handicap hurdle to kick things off on Saturday, John. Where's your money going, and is it a dead cert?
No, there's no dead cert in this. I mean, the favourite was meant to run in the Paddy Power Gold Cup and got withdrawn on the day at Cheltenham, when it would have been a good each-way bet, we believed, to the eventual winner, Panic Attack. So, for me, the favourite is too short. The horse I like in the race is Dance and Glance, because Dance and Glance raced only 35 days ago and it came 4th behind Alexi. And we know what Alexi went on to do. It went on to win the Greatwood Hurdle at Cheltenham, where the favourite has been off the track for 230 days, which I don't think particularly bodes well for me. I'm a bit wary sometimes of horses having very long absences. And also in the race, if you look at the betting there, you've got Go Dante. Go Dante is on a low weight, 10 stone 13. That's only been off for 24 days, and that's got course and distance form as well. And it's got Sean Bowen riding for Ollie Murphy, so that's a pointer as well. So for me, I won't be going with the favourite. I would go with Dance and Glance and Go Dante, because I think they are 2 very strong horses, especially behind Alexi, for Dance and Glance.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. No, Knickerbocker Glory, too short a price in terms of a betting or a punting perspective. And like you said, it's got a long layoff that it's got to overcome. Metier fallen off a cliff form-wise, as is Goshen. Couldn't trust either of them. Climbray probably has a chance, but needs to up the game at this sort of level. It needs to show that it can compete against the better horses it will be doing on Saturday. Alfredel, another horse that can't be trusted, a horse that I really, really was keen on about 2 or 3 years ago at the Cheltenham Festival in a big handicap hurdle, but it's never really seemed to deliver on its promise. And I'm with you. Go Dance is the one for me. Multiple Imperial Cup winner here at this course and distance. Runs off a similar mark. I think it's only £1 above winning the Imperial Cup here last year. Like I said, jockey in form, yard in form. Should be fit for his recent run of Bangor. Go Dante ticks a load of the boxes that the others don't. And I think 9 to 1 is probably a bit of a generous price. I think, is it a cert in a race like that? Like you said, you can't be certain with a race like this. But 9 to 1 to finish in the money, I think that's relatively generous. Sticking on Saturday, going to go from one handicap to another big handicap. It's the Beecher Chase at Aintree. Oh, where is it now? There we go. Beecher Handicap Chase. It's 240 at Aintree on Saturday. Mr. Van Gogh 9-2, Gabo Riot at 13-2, Gallia de Lito also 13-2, White Rhino at 15-2, Bioluminescence at 9s, Western in the Park at 9s, Bill Baxter at 10s, Excello at 12s, Mombeg Genius 14s, Val Dancer at 16s, and it's 33-1 bar. If I'm able to kick things off with this, personally, I think when it comes to sort of the big fences at Aintree, you've got the national fences. It is all right. It's perhaps not what it used to be, but I still think it's a relatively unique test. I think a horse that's tackled them before is a huge plus. I also don't want that's going to be carrying some sort of ridiculous weight unless it's been proven in sort of like graded company and it looks relatively well rated in respect to that. We don't have anything like that in the race. I actually napped Gabo Riot in the Racing Post the last time it ran in this race, last time it ran, and that was here over this course and distance in the Sefton. Finished second that day. It was a much bigger field. It's only gone up £2 for that. And I just think it's just got, again, a little bit like Go Dante. It ticks a lot of boxes where the others have got question marks. Generously priced. Again, just for an each way play. If there's a bookie offering maybe 4 places, I think that horse can finish well again off a relatively similar mark. Your thoughts on this one, mate?
Yeah, I do see the point there about, firstly, horses that have gone over the fences before. So they've got Mr. Van Gogh as a favourite, but I don't think, again, with time off that it's had, this is a sight more for the national for them as a team. So I wouldn't be with Mr. Van Gogh. The two I like are Western in the Park and White Rhino. Western in the Park has got Brian Hughes up for Ollie Murphy, so he's got a good jockey there instead of Sean Bowen. But White Rhino was 5th in the Sefton for the race which you've spoken about, and it finished down the field, but it's not carrying a massive weight. So for me, the two in the race are White Rhino and Western in the Park. I like White Rhino because it's got the course and distance, so I think that will be up for a big run.
Yeah, again, I think another one I might mention that sort of might be slightly contradictory to what I've ended up saying here is Bioluminescence. It's a horse that I looked at last year as potentially a national sort of horse, but I think there's a lot of question marks. It's going to be tackling the national fences, I think, for the first time on Saturday. So I'd be tentative with that. I'd be a lot stronger on Gabo Riot. But again, there's probably a blanket of 4, 5, 6 that would make most people's shortlist in a race like that. But again, I'm the same as you. Just like with Knickerbocker Glory earlier on in the day, Mr. Van Gogh, the fact, all right, it's got a load of ones next to its name in the form, but it's a big test to come back from that and tackle a race like this. Again, if it puts in a decent enough run, if it finishes 4th or 5th and stays on or whatever, then I'd probably be urging people to make that a note for the bigger race in April. The big race on Saturday, Grade 1, very prestigious race. We've got the Tingle Creek. Only the 5 runners, again, another big race that's only attracted a small runner field, sadly. Il Était Tom, 5-6, clear favourite. Hitman, Lotus Sud. Hitman runs on Sunday. Lotus Sud, 5-2. John Bon, who's a multiple Grade 1 winner, is at 4-1. John Bon is entered for a race on Sunday, but I think John Bon is more than likely going to be lining up at Sandown. Liberty Hunter, 28, and the rank outsider, we've got Boot Hill. I'll let you kick things off, mate. But another sort of slightly disappointing field in terms of a Grade 1, but we won't go into that, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose you could say it's disappointing for the size of the field, but then I suppose it's a case of quality, not quantity in some respects. Il Était Tom is a horse which has never really had the credit it deserves over its career so far. And when you look at its record, it's got a fine record in the UK and in Ireland. Now, Paul Townend has never won the Tingle Creek. That's the only Grade 1 he's never won. And he's not far behind Ruby Walsh. And he's obviously very keen to ride the horse, because if he didn't want to come over to ride it on Saturday, then Danny Mullins would have ridden it. And Danny Mullins has got a very, very good relationship with it because he won on it last year in the Celebration Chase. Townend won the Clonmile Oil Chase on it very easily this year. as a prep for the Tingle Creek. Now, Le Sud ran a lovely race at Cheltenham. I backed it, and it beat John Bon, and it looked like it won very, very easily. But what will it have when the gallop is faster at Sandown? And I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is that Townend is going to stretch that race out to test how fast Little Sud can go at the gallop. And from Sandown, then fences are very tight down the back and round the pond fence as well. So I did the anti-post angle for this a couple of weeks ago, and my feelings are still the same. Is it much of a price? Well, I think 5 to 6 is a pretty good price for that horse because it's proven at the course. It's got a very, very good jockey, and he wants to win that race because he's made it quite clear that he's not won it before. And Danny Mullins would have loved to have had the ride. I watched Danny Mullins win very well at Clonmel on Tuesday, and they hinted to him about this horse, and you could see that he was just playing a diplomatic line that his uncle, he doesn't get the pick of the horses. It's Townend who gets the pick at Closutton because he's the number one jockey. But for me, I think what will happen is that he will gallop that horse, and I think the favourite will win, and I think it will win very well. And remember, Mullins wants to get money on the board if he wants to try and get Ness Skelton again for the British Trainers Championship. So I think the favourite is a worthy favourite, and I think it will win.
Yeah, I'm going to be boring and just say ditto, mate. It's, John Bon, sadly, I can't be sure what version of him is going to turn up. I know I'd say Tom looks the one to beat. Again, like I said, boring. I'll make it short and sweet, but it's a Willie Mullins horse coming over here for a grade 1 that's done very little wrong. It's a horse that seems to even be progressing, perhaps from what we've seen, as long as it's fit and ready to go.
If on Saturday, for some reason, something happens and they start to put money on the Skelton horse, that's even better, because if you can get that price swinging on Saturday for the favourite, that's brilliant, because people will pile into that. And I think on the day that price could go even shorter. So let's see what they do. But again, can you write the Skeltons off? Look what they've done with Panic Attack over the last month, winning the 2 biggest races in the last month. You just don't know that they could come there and the thing could swing around again and leave more behind. But I just think the favourite is a worthy favourite, and it needs the credit it deserves. And I think I want the favourite to win, because if it wins, it then gives it, the credit it deserves to have over the career it's had.
Yeah, exactly. Look, if on the morning a load of people steam into the Skelton horse, I'd be more than happy to take even money about Elite Tom. It's not far off now at 5 to 6.
No.
But, if you end up getting even money or even odds against, I'll be, cautiously maybe, but I'd be happy to dust out the wallet, even for a tight northerner like me. And then away from Saturday, we've got a bit of a big race as well on Sunday. It is the Peterborough Chase at Hundred, and it's 3 o'clock. Again, another short price favourite, odds on favourite. Gigello is 6 to 4 on. St. Sam, Willie Mullins trained at 100 to 30. Hitman at 5 to 1. John Bon, who probably is unlikely to run at 11 to 2. Boomborn at 9s. Edward Stone, former grade 1 winner, who's perhaps past what he once was at 12s. Saint Segal at 16s. And Mahon's Glory is a big rank outsider at 66s. Now, obviously, we record this on a Thursday. Likely by the time that this is out on the Friday, we will have the final decks. For me, I know it sounds like a bit of a broken record, but Gigello at odds on, I think it's crazy. Although it could very well demolish them. I'm not backing the horse in a race like that at 4 to 6 when there's options for each way value, with that, there's 8 entered. Unfortunately, I think if John Bon obviously isn't, then you only get you 7, you've only got your 2 places. But like I said, John Bon isn't likely to run. Hitman did well last time out, but might need a little bit more, I think. Saint Sam would be a really decent alternative to the favourite, but I think 10 to 3 is perhaps too short. Again, I'm going for an each way option, but I'm fully aware that if John Bon doesn't run, you're not going to get 3 places. I want to go Bumborn. Was only 4 lengths behind Hitman last time out. That was off level weights. Now the horse gets a £5 pull in the Skelton runner's favour. And again, hails from a yard who are banging form, like I've just touched upon, from the Skelton yard. Bumborn, hopefully as well, will strip a bit fitter for last time run. and might sneak into the money if one or two of the more well-fancied runners fails to deliver. But it's a race that I'd be very, very tentative if I'm having a bet in. Yourself, mate?
DiGiello won the race easy last year, and it was on the ideal ground, and you'll get the ideal ground there because there's been a lot of rain this week, and Huntingdon, as you know, comes up very, very soft when there's been any rain because of the lake and everything in the middle. So if DiGiello turns up, then I think it'll win. But I really want St Sam to run because I think St Sam is a good horse, which hasn't again probably had the exposure that some of the other horses have had from Mullins. Jimmy DeSalle is the same owners as St Sam. So I really hope tomorrow they declare St Sam to run at Huntingdon, because I think that'll be a very good indication of how the race could go. Because if St Sam gets declared, then I would back St Sam, for the fact is that, again, he's sending the horse over. He wants to get the prize money on the board and not going to waste their time bringing a horse across to the UK. If St Sam doesn't get declared tomorrow, then I think it's DiGiello's race. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it wouldn't be any shock to see DiGiello win. And like I said, it could probably demolish that field. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm happy to throw an odds-on shot in when it's, you're perhaps putting it in an accumulator or some sort of like multi-bet. But if I'm just thinking of a bet for this race, I mean, whether or not there's a market, like, you always find the odd sort of obscure market with the bookmaker, whether or not it's betting without the favourites and they're still offering two places, I might go bum then and sort of eliminate the chance and then still end up inadvertently having three places if you're relatively positive that DiGiello's going to fill one of them. But yeah, those are our thoughts, obviously, for this weekend. Away from those four races, John, is there anything else that's sort of like perhaps your bet of the weekend or something that might catch your eye elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, Sandown starts tomorrow, so obviously, but we're looking more towards the weekend. Sober Glory is in the first race at Sandown on Saturday. It's not much of a price because it's unbeaten in 5 starts, and it races in the colours of the Bricard racing, which is the famous colours which Native River won the Gold Cup in. Now, if you look at their record at the moment, they've had Alexi, they've had Cryptic Jim, they've had Neon Moon, all in the last 2 weeks win, and this horse is unbeaten. So I would say that Sober Glory and Harry Cobden is going to ride it for them as well, for Hobbs and White. So I think that's a good win bet. And there's another horse on the same day in the 120, Absolutely Doyen, which is Paul Nichols and Harry Cobden again, and that's a fair price. So there are 2 other horses away from the bigger races that I will back: Sober Glory and Absolutely Doyen, both on Saturday at Sandown.
Yeah, I'm going to follow suit in terms of Saturday. I'm going to actually go to Chepstow. They've got a Welsh national trial. I think it's about 25-2. It's 136 the race. They've got a horse called A Work in Progress for Nick Gifford, who's won, I think it's something like, it's all 5 of its chases. But I'm actually not going to go with that horse. The one I'm going to go with is Sam Thomas's Jubilee Express. Raced 3 weeks ago, didn't produce much of a race at Cheltenham, but I think it'll come on a lot for that in terms of fitness. Sam Thomas has his horses going well. Obviously, love the winner at his sort of relatively local track, Chepstow. Loves a horse to go for the Welsh National, loves his sort of staying chasers. It is 3-1 at the minute, which is sort of disappointing. I was hoping that it was going to be an each way price, say 5s or bigger. What I would probably say is, if you can get 4-1 or more, I'd be all over that as an each way bet. A Work in Progress is probably the only horse I'm worried about. That's the 11-8 favourite at the minute. But Jubilee Express, just as an each way play, if you can get a decent each way price by Saturday morning, they're in the 136. So those are our selections for the 4 big races on Saturday and our alternative bets. I've been Rory Paddock. He's been John Arnold. As always, any likes, comments and shares, very much appreciated. and we will be back next week. Thanks for watching, and make sure you stay tuned to racingdaily.com.